Snow-capped mountains, lush green valleys, sparkling rivers, pine forests. Kashmir, a tourist hotspot, is known for its splendid views of the Himalayas. People from all across India escape the sweltering heat in the lap of its mountains and meadows. Until the morning of the 22nd of April, the Baisaran Valley in Pahalgam town, dubbed as India's mini Switzerland, was bustling with visitors seeking nature's peace and adventure. But later that afternoon, everything changed. The pristine Baisaran Valley in Pahalgam in South Kashmir turned into a gory sight. Baisaran became a killing ground. 4 Pakistan-backed terrorists opened fire on tourists, killing 26 of them in broad daylight. Multiple survivors said that the terrorists approached the victims, asked about their religion, and took an Islamic verse test called the Kalma. If they failed, they were shot dead. The usually tranquil meadows of Pahalgam, surrounded by pine forests and mountains, reverberated with the sounds of military helicopters that took part in a manhunt for the attackers. The aftermath of Pahalgam terror attack has sparked a widespread condemnation of the violence. The nature of the attack is unusual. In 3.5 decades of conflict between India and Pakistan, tourists have rarely been targeted, especially on such a scale. Which terrorist group was behind the attack? What's the history of the India-Pakistan conflict? How was Kashmir's economy after abrogation of Article 370?
अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे सिवाय खंड 1 के नामक तदनुसार पढ़ा गया.
How will businesses be affected after the Pahalgam attacks and the Indian government's crackdown on Pakistan and terrorists? All these and more on WION WideAngle this week. Located about 6 kilometers from Pahalgam town in Kashmir is the Baisaran Meadow. The road passes through forests and streams. Tourists visiting Baisaran must either trek or hire a pony to reach the meadow. At the end of the arduous journey, tourists are greeted with stunning views of snow-capped mountains and pine forests of Baisaran. Kashmir is in the middle of peak tourism season. Pahalgam, a popular tourist destination, was seeing a huge footfall. On the 22nd of April 2025, nearly 2,000 people were in Baisaran when the terrorists segregate men from women and children before opening fire. The first shot was fired around 1:50 p.m. local time. And for the next 10 minutes, heavy firing took place. Many of the shootings were headshots. Reportedly, the killers, at least 4 of them, came from behind the pine forests. Survivors described horror as the attack unfolded. Shital Kalatia had gone with her husband and children on a week-long vacation to Kashmir. The family was exploring Pahalgam when the attack took place. She said the attackers had segregated Hindus and Muslims before shooting down the Hindus at close range. Her husband was shot dead before her eyes.
हमारे सामने जो एक बंदा था उसने ये बोला हिंदू एक तरफ हो जाओ मुसलमान एक तरफ हो जाओ फिर उसने बोला कलाम तो जो मुसलमान थे उसने बोला कि मुस्लिम फिर उसने बोला कलाम फिर मुस्लिम फिर कलाम फिर मुस्लिम जो उनका होगा कुछ हमें तो वो पता नहीं था क्योंकि मेरे बाजू में जो लेडी थी वो मुस्लिम थी तो मैं सुन रही थी जैसे ही आतंकवादी कलाम बोलता है ना तो जो मुसलमान होते हैं वो लोग बोलते हैं मुसलमान तो वो उसने पूछा हिंदू को एक तरफ किया और जो भी हिंदू भाई थे सबको शूट कर दिया हमारे साथ जो भी जेंट्स है आई थिंक 6 to 7 थे ही सबको उसने गोली मारी और उसने इतनी नजदीक से गोली मारी ना मतलब 2 से 3 मिनट में सब खत्म हम हमारे सामने ही जैसे कि मेरे हस्बैंड का सर मेरे गोद में था मेरे पीछे मेरी बेटी उसके पीछे मेरा बेटा ऐसे हम बैठे थे मैं भी कुछ नहीं कर सकी कुछ नहीं
The brutal terror attack claimed the lives of 26 people, including that of a local pony handler, Syed Adil Hussain Shah. Shah was the eldest son and the sole breadwinner of his family. He pleaded with terrorists to spare tourists and even tried to snatch their gun. He died trying to shield one of the tourists from the terrorists.
आगू गया उठौता गया ना केन कौन दी जान बचेंदम जिंदा अपनी जान देकर चला गया क्या करूं और ये एक बंदा था जिड़ा मेरे लिए घुमा कांडा और कौन था क्या करूं हम ए भी बूढ़ा मैं भी बूढ़ा
इनको भी ऐसे ही होना चाहिए जैसे मेरे भाई को किए इन लोगों ने 3 गोलियां मारी क्या करेंगे
For Adil's father, the pain of loss is unbearable, but it's his son's selfless courage that he says will sustain him through the heartbreak.
बहुत फख्र है उसकी शहादत पे उसकी फख्र के लिए मैं इस वक्त ज़िंदा हूँ नहीं तो उसकी जवानी उसकी शक्ल उसकी ये देखकर मैं भी मर जाता फिर उसी वक्त जब उसकी डेथ हुई तो मैं भी अपनी जान गंवा देता
In another incident, a twist of fate helped a family from Kerala escape the terror attack in Pahalgam. Sudhas Kanoth, a native of Kannur, was holidaying in Kashmir with his wife and their son when the incident occurred. The family had set out for a horse ride along a rugged trail. During the trek, Kanoth fell off his pony and soiled his clothes. That was when Kanoth decided to return to his hotel downhill.
മടങ്ങി വന്ന് താഴെ എത്തി ഒന്ന് ഹോട്ടലിൽ കയറിയ സമയത്ത് ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കാൻ ഹോട്ടലിൽ കയറിയ സമയത്താണ് ഈ മിലിറ്ററി വാഹനങ്ങൾ പരക്കം പായുന്നത് കണ്ടത്. അദ്ദേഹം ഡ്രൈവർ പറഞ്ഞു അവരെ സഹോദരൻ വിളിച്ചു പറഞ്ഞു പ്രശ്നമുണ്ട് പെട്ടെന്ന് സ്ഥലം വിട്ടോളാൻ. അങ്ങനെ ഡ്രൈവറുടെ സഹായത്തോടുകൂടെ പെട്ടെന്ന് പഹൽഗാം വിട്ട് ശ്രീനഗറിൽ കൊണ്ട് മാത്രമാണ് രക്ഷപ്പെട്ടതെന്നില്ല. അത് ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആ കുതിരയിൽ നിന്നില്ല ഒരു വീഴ്ചയില്ലായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ ആലോചിക്കാൻ തന്നെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്. ആ തീവ്രവാദി അക്രമത്തിൻ്റെ ആ ഒരു നടുക്ക് തന്നെയാണ് ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളത്.
Simran Rupchandni had suffered a fracture in her leg while fleeing, but she and her family jumped from a hill to escape the ghastly terror attack.
कंटिन्यू फायरिंग हो रही थी तो लोग एक दूसरे को कुचलते हुए धक्के दे रहे थे तो मैंने मिसेस को दलदल की तरफ धकेला दिया तो घोड़े वाला तो हमारे को तुरंत छोड़ के घोड़ा छोड़ के भी भाग गया वो घोड़ा भी छोड़ा और वो खुद भी भाग गया जंगल में और फिर पीछे मेरी मिसेस को दलदल में धक्का दिया मेरे बेटे को भी उतारा और फिर हम कंटिन्यू गोलियां चल रही थी तो हमारे को उस समय दिमाग काम नहीं किया हम जंगल की तरफ कूद गए और जंगल की तरफ 7 से 8 किलोमीटर हम जंगल पहाड़ उतरते हुआ है 8
And then a survivor's video from a zip line in Pahalgam has gone viral on social media. Rishi Bhatt hails from Gujarat. He had gone to Baisaran Meadow in Pahalgam on a vacation with his wife and his son, where the terror attack took place. In a video that went viral now, but reveals how he and his family managed to escape after terrorists began to fire at the tourists.
मैं जब जिपलाइन कर रहा था तब फायरिंग स्टार्ट हुई। अराउंड 4 से 5 बार गोलियां चल गई। तब 20 सेकंड तक तो मुझे मालूम नहीं था, मैं मेरी मस्ती में जिपलाइन के अंदर था। फिर मुझे मालूम पड़ा कि यहाँ पे गोलियां चल रही है, लोग नीचे मर रहे हैं। मैंने देखा 5-6 लोगों को गोलियां लग गई है। फिर मुझे 20 सेकंड के बाद अराउंड पता चला कि यहाँ पे आतंकी हमला हुआ है।
As the mortal remains of the victims were flown back to their hometowns, the grief of the loss was felt across the nation. Several families held funerals for victims of the terrorist attack. It is a heartbreaking reminder of the tragedy that struck innocent lives. The Jammu and Kashmir police released sketches of the terrorists who carried out the recent attack in Pahalgam. These were based on the details given by survivors and eyewitnesses. As per the security forces, 4 terrorists were involved in the attack, 3 Pakistanis and 1 local. Soon after the attack, the Resistance Front, or TRF, an offshoot of the Pakistan-based UN-designated terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed responsibility for the deadly attack. 4 days later, it retracted its claim. Investigators have identified one of the masterminds as Adil Hussain Toker, who once worked as a part-time teacher before picking up the gun. Investigators revealed that Toker had traveled to Pakistan on a study visa, where he became involved with radical groups. It is believed he crossed back into India in 2024. Authorities have now demolished his house in Anantnag. Another of the terrorists who unleashed the horror is Pakistan's Hashim Musa. According to the ongoing probe into the terror plot, Musa is a former para-commando of the Pakistan Army's Special Forces.
The investigative agencies have found more evidence and witnesses' statements of the Pahalgam attack. We're being told from our sources that one of the witnesses has told security forces that there were 4 terrorists in total. 2 of them were wearing army camouflage uniform, while as 2 of them were in civil dress. We are also being told that 3 of the terrorists went inside the Baisaran meadow, while the 4th one was giving a cover from outside the fence.
An investigation has identified 15 local Kashmiris who are termed overground workers, or OGWs, as potential facilitators. These individuals are suspected of assisting the attackers. Based on electronic surveillance, authorities believe these locals may have provided logistical support and perhaps received arms shipments from Pakistan. More than 2,000 Kashmiri locals have been detained for questioning to retrace events leading up to the April 22 incident. A joint interrogation team, including officials from the National Investigation Agency, Jammu and Kashmir Police, Intelligence Bureau and Research and Analysis Wing, is currently questioning the Kashmiri locals. India-Pakistan tensions have soared, prompting New Delhi to suspend the Indus Waters Treaty and Islamabad to put the Simla Agreement on hold. The mountainous region of Kashmir has been at the epicenter of violent territorial struggles between India and Pakistan for many decades now. The region also has a de facto border called the Line of Control, which divides India and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The Line of Control is the military line separating Jammu and Kashmir, including Ladakh and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It was established after the 1972 Simla Agreement between India and Pakistan after the Indo-Pak War of 1971. The LOC is not an internationally accepted border, but a ceasefire line mutually accepted by both countries. India and Pakistan have seen many full-scale wars, proxy conflicts and military standoffs down the decades that have influenced the South Asian geopolitical environment. India and Pakistan have fought 4 wars since their independence from the British Empire in 1947. The conflict between India and Pakistan arose out of the 1947 partition of British India. The partition established a Muslim-majority Pakistan and a Hindu-majority India. It provided diverse regions of Jammu and Kashmir the opportunity to choose which country to accede to. Kashmir's monarch Hari Singh, the last ruling Maharaja of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, sought independence. Unlike other princely states that aligned themselves with one nation or the other, Singh wanted independence for Kashmir. However, he ultimately agreed to join India in exchange for help against invading Pakistani herders that triggered the Indo-Pakistani War of 1947-48. Tensions simmered until a skirmish between border controls escalated to a full-blown war in 1965. Pakistan launched a second war in August 1965 when it invaded Kashmir. Thousands were killed before a September ceasefire brokered by the Soviet Union and the United States. In 1971, India and Pakistan fought another brief war over East Pakistan. Indian forces helped the territory gain independence, resulting in the establishment of present-day Bangladesh. India and Pakistan attempted to usher in a new era of bilateral relations with the 1972 Simla Agreement, which established the line of control. In 1974, the conflict took on a new dimension with the introduction of nuclear weapons, raising the stakes of confrontation. That year, India tested its first nuclear weapon. 24 years later, India carried out 5 nuclear weapon tests at Pokhran. Pakistan carried out a series of nuclear tests in May 1998. In February 1999, the two countries signed the Lahore Declaration to prevent nuclear conflict and resolve their disputes through peaceful means. However, this agreement failed to prevent another war. The Fourth Indo-Pak conflict began in early May 1999, when India found Pakistani terrorists had infiltrated into Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan called it Operation Badr, which aimed to capture the Kargil region and force India to negotiate a settlement of the Kashmir dispute. After detecting the infiltration, India launched a military operation codenamed Vijay, ordering its army to push back the intruders, who included regulars of the Pakistan Army, and recapture occupied areas. Attacks continued to plague Kashmir for years to come. In 2018, violence surged between the two nations. The Indian government took greater control of the region the following year.
अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे सिवाय खंड 1 के नामक तदनुसार पढ़ा जाएगा। संविधान के समय
In 2019, on the 5th of August 2019, the government of India revoked special status or autonomy granted under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution to Jammu and Kashmir. The move promised deeper integration and development. Six years after Article 370 was scrapped, Jammu and Kashmir seemed to have transformed. the region showed a noticeable shift in its economic and political affairs. In 2023, Jammu and Kashmir hosted the G20 Tourism Working Group meeting, its first international event post-Article 370. Over 60 foreign delegates experienced Kashmir's culture, art and hospitality on the iconic Dal Lake. Tourism has surged from 3.4 million tourists in 2020 to over 21 million tourists in 2023. The numbers tell a story of revival of the much contested region. In 2024, tourist visits in Jammu and Kashmir reached a record number of 23.6 million. Events like the Tulip Festival and the Miss World Tour have also put Kashmir in the global spotlight. The 2024 Lok Sabha elections saw the highest voter turnout in 40 years. The Kashmir Valley recorded a 30 percentage point turnout jump from 2019. Economic activity, too, is on the rise. The Union Territory has received investment proposals worth billions of dollars. Projects like the Zojila Tunnel, Chenab Railway Bridge and new industrial parks are transforming connectivity and opportunity. The Pahalgam terror attack on April 22 didn't just kill people, it has cast a long-term shadow on tourism, one of the primary contributors to Jammu and Kashmir's economy. The attack has triggered widespread cancellations by tourists, affecting advance bookings. At least 1.3 million bookings scheduled in August have been cancelled across the valley.
From the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers.
Amid growing indications of a retaliation against the Pahalgam terror attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given complete operational freedom to the armed forces to decide on the mode, targets and timing of response to Pakistan. Also, Indian security forces launched massive counter-terrorism operations in Jammu and Kashmir, which include the demolition of houses of terror suspects. At least 9 houses have been destroyed across the Kashmir Valley as part of the anti-terror crackdown that picked up more steam after the Pahalgam tragedy. Security forces have raided more than 500 locations in the valley and grilled hundreds of suspects. Kashmir is a region that has experienced decades of conflict, with civilians often caught in the crossfire between terror groups and security forces. However, the events of 22nd of April cannot be forgotten. It can't be business as usual. The terror attack has left many Indian families broken, communities in mourning, and a nation grieving. From briefing key departments to giving a free hand to its armed forces, India is signaling that the massacre of innocent tourists in Pahalgam won't go unanswered, and that those responsible for the attack will be punished.